Right now, there's a major change happening for people all over the country. People are moving from state to state. They are moving from north to south. They are starting to deal with turf that they've never dealt with before. They were comfortable in one area. They're not comfortable in another. They're buying a new home and don't really know what to do with it. Or they're doing something like I am and basically tearing everything out and starting over from scratch. So, what do you do? Where should you start when all of this goes on? Is there a simple approach? Is there a more complex approach? And the answer is an absolute yes to all of those. I'd like to start with the most simple approach first, and this is for people who are just getting into a new lawn, or they're getting into a new region and dealing with a new grass type or something along those lines. You're new to it all and you need to know that everything's going to be okay without really a whole lot of in-depth research or extra hard work, because you've already got your work cut out for you. So let's talk about the buy and apply method. The buy and apply method basically is this. There is material that is for sale in your region, in every home improvement store that you go to, that is going to work for your area. It is there because the manufacturers have done the research and they've done the trials and they've got the material and they're putting it out and they're suggesting rates that work under a wide variety of conditions. Now, is this going to give you sort of the ultimate lawn? Probably not. Is it going to give you a good-looking lawn? Probably so. And for 99% of people, that's what they're after. You really just want a good-looking lawn, something that, I don't know, maybe you're not embarrassed by. The beauty of this is most of the thinking is already done. You don't have to do a ton of research. You don't have to find out, will this work? Can this work? Whatever. The more important piece is applying it right and following the labels. And all that really requires is for you to do some reading. And hopefully, not everything you get information on is from YouTube's and being told to you. Go to the label, read the label, apply it at the label rate, and watch and get a result. So there are just those basic steps that you need to take in order to have a successful lawn when you've never done it before. You have to mow, you have to feed, and you have to water. And if you do those three things, you are going to have success. So the buy and apply method, there's nothing wrong with that. There is no more in-depth anything that you have to do. You just need to be able to follow direction and just put it out. The other part of that is there is a little bit of a buffer zone inside a lot of the application rates, especially for fertilizers that are on the marketplace for homeowners that, well, let's be frank, there's a lot of people who over-apply, and while that's not intentional, it does happen. For a lot of people, it's buy a bag, put a bag out, and that's not reading the label. That's just kind of lazy. There are plenty of people, and I mean by the millions and millions and millions of people, who just buy the same material every year and they put it out the same way that they always do, and maybe they have fertilized once a year, maybe twice, maybe three, maybe four times, who knows. But they just buy the same thing and put it out, and they generally have good success. They have a lawn that they're proud of, and they never want to take it into the next level or move it up into the stratosphere of absolute beauty where people are asking, hey, is this lawn fake? That does happen, and it's actually not that difficult to get there if you're willing to put in a little more time, a little more energy, and a little more knowledge. So let's go to that step 2. Now, again, if you've been following along on this, I have lots of videos about soil testing and explaining the way that those things work and why it's important to do when you get to a certain point in your game. For me, the most important part of that is the knowledge is power piece. There's no such thing as a bad soil test. It doesn't work that way. It just gives you a guideline for things to work on. So I would say if we're going to take the second model of going from A to Z, instead of being a buy and apply type person, now we're going into the knowledge is power lawn care. Now, when you step into this zone, it doesn't mean that your whole life is going to get a lot more expensive. In most cases, you'll find out that you're going to be able to back down on some nutrients and apply more in a greater volume to make up for the difference in your soil. Well, what does that really mean? And why is it important to go this route once you've been the buy and apply guy. The reason why understanding these soil reports and getting the idea is because lack of nutrition overall can lead to other issues. And a lot of the time, the lack of nutrition is the underlying and sort of dominating issue that leads more towards lawn diseases, weed infestations, and things like that. Cultural practices play a big role in maintaining a very healthy and very beautiful lawn. So at some point in your game, it will become a, hey, let's go ahead and get a soil test and see what I'm really dealing with here. And have I been applying something in too great a measure, or have I not been applying something in enough measure in order to get to my ultimate goal, which is, let's just call it neighborhood domination. Thank you, Alan Hain. For the record, for a long time, I was actually pretty angry with many of the soil reports that I was seeing coming across for many, many years, because most of them were not providing enough information for anybody to make any major changes to overall fertility. It was just a way to sort of almost provide a distraction for people. And we received those a lot professionally from people that were just taking P and K tests out there, and it just really wasn't enough to get a full overall view. A little more in-depth test that covers off more is definitely helpful. As soon as you see what comes back on your soil report, you get to put together a roadmap that will take you through the course of the season, and you can design your fertilizer program custom to you and your lawn based on what you're seeing in that report, and follow along with your grass growth cycles, which is also very important. Now, again, all of these reports are going to be very different, and it might take a little bit for you to learn how to read them. That is something I do for people. That is a service I offer. I think by now most people know that. And it's good to note that these types of programs, when you're trying to get to A to Z and have that ultimate lawn, it isn't an overnight fix. It's not a quick fix. It's a long game play, and you need to be treating things in that sort of idea and with that frame of mind. So what I'd like to do right now is actually invite somebody on to talk a little bit about that, who moved into a new home, didn't know what he was getting into, took a soil test. We had a great baseline to start with, sent it over, took a look at it, gave some good ideas and pointers to go through. He also went out and reached out to the rest of his community, and then ultimately had a major change in the course of a season on his soil, and I think it's kind of important to let him talk about that. So I've got Ben here, the lawn guardian, joining me, and he is the perfect candidate for this conversation in talking about soil testing and coming into a new lawn and a new house, and what he did in order to have some success. And now, one thing that you can do is you can click right up here, and if you want to watch a little bit more. But for today, I really wanted you to just get an idea on taking the second route and what it can do for you and your lawn and your soil over the course of a single season. So, Ben,
what's going on?
Just happy you're here, man. That's all I can say about it. So, when did you move into the house?
We moved in, I think it was like 1 or 2 days before Christmas of 2019. So December of 2019.
Now, first thing you did when you got into the new place is you did a soil test to see what you were working with. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yep.
Yeah. So did you feel like in the beginning, when you kind of went out there and you were dabbling and you just kind of threw down what you could get locally, did you feel like you had good success prior to ever taking a soil test on the old lawn? Did you feel like you actually did well with that?
I mean, yeah, I would say for what my expectations were that year, I think as a beginner, if you want to call it that, I would say I was fairly successful.
Gotcha. So and this is just your opinion. I'm curious about what you think about this. What, on a scale of 1 to 10, how important do you think it is for people just getting into the lawn game, just starting to figure things out, or maybe just buying a home for the first time? How important, 1 to 10, do you think it is to actually do a soil test right out of the gate?
Well, just coming from a homeowner DIYer, I would still call myself a novice in this. I would say it's, probably up there by by a 9 or 10 is probably one of the most important things to do, even if.
So I believe this is really all anybody needs to know. There are so many different roads to get you to lawn care success, and it is a lawn journey, and everybody should have fun doing it and not really feel like they're doing something wrong. The worst thing you could ever do is do nothing at all. Complacency will kill your lawn, and we don't want to have that happen. So that's it. I really appreciate you tuning in. I hope you all have a great day, and I'll see you real soon. Later.